And Jawalski, what's going on?
It's Monday. Let's see. And I think as of literally right now, the 23.1 submission deadline is over. Is that right? Or maybe
Is
we got like an hour or something like that.
is it? Is it? I haven't even looked.
I admittedly I think I made a post on Instagram about this. I was 3 brain cells away from completely forgetting to submit my score. Like literally, like I'm about to go, play pickleball because I kind of treated today as an off day and just play pickleball all day. Typical day for me.
Right.
And I was about to head out, and I was like, I feel like I need to do something. And I was like, oh snap! I need to register I need to register for the Open, which I never do beforehand. So I need to register, and then I need to submit my score. So I almost forgot. Almost.
Oh, well, I didn't submit a score at all, so I guess we're even.
Well, let's talk about that. What happened? What's going
Oh
on?
man. Well, this I've been off and on sick. I actually had to do the dates today because I had a meeting with my doctor. And I've been off and on sick since really a little bit before Thanksgiving. I'd got kind of my first sinus infection then, and about every 2 weeks I get sick again, and it's varying degrees of bad. With kind of that one spell in I guess it was December where I actually had to go to the hospital over it,
Darn.
and it's just been miserable, like completely miserable. And so when I got back from this last trip for the High Rocks in Chicago, same thing. Like immediately following that event, I started to get symptoms again, like congestion and sneezing and cough. The cough came back really strong, and I thought it was just like kind of the after effects of the race because it was kind of a
Right, just
brutal.
a heavy cardio workout. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 2 hour race for God's sakes, like or almost 2 hours. It's like, and so I thought, well, maybe I've just overdone it. I need a couple of days, and then it's gotten progressively worse over the last couple of days. I'm like, well, I'll tough it out. And
Yeah.
I'll go do the Open because this one isn't a red line workout, at least in my opinion. And dude, I paced the hell out of it, to be honest. Like I followed all of the advice we talked about on the show. Like to my credit, I did exactly what we said we should do. I took your advice and CJ's advice. I paced the row really slow for me, like probably 1100 was my pace, which is far less than I would normally row. But I'm like, I need to be able to breathe and to move. And I got about 4 minutes in. I was maybe 20 toes to bar in, and man, I just could not breathe, could not get oxygen to my lungs or my muscles. And I was moving fine, like just was killing me, like
Yeah.
absolutely killing me. And by the time I got done, I was like, this is it. Like, if I can't do a non-red line workout without it just like completely crushing my soul, there's no reason for me to.
Right. You're like, hey, something is off here. This isn't benefiting my fitness.
Yeah, I just need to get healthy. Like that's the thing. It's like at some point you have to make a choice between, do I want my ego to run my life
Well,
and
yes.
post.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, well, because I could have posted a score. I mean, I finished the workout, but I didn't want to. It was like, it's not that I didn't want to post a score. It's like I have to get healthy, and if I do the next 2 weeks worth of workouts, that means I have to train for CrossFit Open workouts, and there's a high degree of likelihood, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, that at least one of these 2 weeks is going to be balls to the wall, 4-time, go as hard as you can go. High score wins, and I don't have it in me without it absolutely destroying me. And I've got busy work weeks anyway. So it's like, all right, let me revamp my training, revamp how I'm living, get my life back together and get healthy. So I scheduled an appointment with my doctor who, admittedly is my partner at the gym, one of my partners. And we met today. And the great news is I'm now on steroids, Ben. So I'm going to PR. I'm going to PR my deadlift finally.
Heck yeah!
Thank God. No, he you can tell I'm still coughing. He put me on an inhaler and then a nasal spray. And if those two don't work, then we have kind of another level we can go to from that.
Right, straight up anabolic steroids.
Pretty much. And no, that's not true. And he would probably punch me for saying that out loud. But but so we'll see. Like, basically they're designed to relax what's going on in there and help my body start to recover. And then I met with my coach. I'm like, all right, here's what I need to do. Can you give me some workouts? And so my workouts right now for the next few weeks are going to look like lifting, getting stronger, and a lot of zone 2 work. So today I did 5x3 back squats to a heavy set, and then when I finished the heaviest set, I did 2x10, 80% of that heaviest set, and then same for push press, 5x3 and then 2x10, and then after that I did a 20-minute or a 10K on the C2 bike wearing a 20-pound vest, and you do the 1 minute standing, 2 minutes sitting until you're done.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was hard, dude. I don't know if you've ever stood up on a C2 bike wearing a vest.
Yeah, that sounds pretty tough for someone who's trying to recover.
But it's literally just zone 2 work. Like, it's just like you're just pedaling. Like, it's not, you're sweating, but it's nowhere near like what you would do on an assault bike. It's not sprinting. There's no heavy breathing. Like, it's just, you can literally just sit there and breathe through your nose if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And do it for 20 minutes. And, you sweat like a bitch. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I was sweating like crazy, but it was good. So that's what my training is going to look like for a few weeks while I recover and get my life back together.
Well, I think it's really good that you saw, I don't know, you were able to see through kind of like the hype and the BS of, like you run congratulations for crossing 400,000 followers, right? You run a fairly large page in the space, and a lot of people, especially, we're preaching, do the open, do the open, do the open. So you probably have a lot of pressure, both externally and internally, to do the open and complete it and do well in it, like we've talked about in the past. However, I think it's really smart that you looked at yourself honestly in the mirror and said, I need to get healthy, because I had something somewhat similar happen to me when I first moved to Colorado. I was getting sick really consistently. I was just getting sick every few weeks, it seemed like, and I just could not figure it out. I was training really consistently. I was like, man, I just feel terrible, whether it's like, not mentally healthy, but also definitely not physically healthy, just tired.
What was it, chlamydia or no?
No, much worse. No, and then I realized that it was probably just terrible sleep habits. So I was training at the 6 a.m. class, sometimes even the 5 a.m. class. My ex and I were going to the gym super early, and I was just like this. I was like waking up at like 3:58 in the morning, because that's what hardcore entrepreneur, men do, right? Like Jocko Willink, those people. And I was just drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, I could have a 3:58 because I'm so cool. And I would get up and journal, and I liked it for a while, but I was just like, man, why do I keep getting sick? And then I was just like, took a long, hard look at myself, and I was just like, what if you stopped forcing yourself to do all these things that you naturally hate, absolutely hate waking up that early and feel miserable? What if I try sleeping in and setting my schedule to allow myself to get a solid 8 or 9 hours of sleep? And then voila, everything changed, and I feel so much better now. And I think I'm fitter, even though I'm probably not training as much. I have a schedule now that sleep is one of my number one, if not the number one priority in any given week. And if I go into some sleep debt, if I have a couple really late nights and I'm feeling banged up, I will just shut myself off to the world and really prioritize just getting some really, really good sleep. So anyway, that all goes to say that I think you made the right call of okay, you need to take a pause, figure out what's going on, come up with a new plan, and then hopefully get through it and come out on the other side better. And that's what I did. And I was able to identify that sleep was the main key for me.
I will admit, I gave myself 5 minutes to be majorly pissed off.
Yeah.
I did. I kicked
the
hard
grieve.
when I was
you gotta
done.
Grieve a little bit, man. Therapy taught me that.
Yeah, I wrapped up the workout. I knew I wasn't going to be able to continue as soon as I hit 14 minutes. I'd kick the barbell across the room, whatever, something close
You
to
punch
me.
anything?
No, I tossed something. I forget what I threw, but it's a big gym. And it was just me and Jen were the only ones there anyway. And I cursed a couple of times. And Jen's like, "You all right, man?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
Yeah.
That was it. I gave myself 5 minutes to be pissed off, and then I moved on with my life. You know what? At the end of the day, as much as fun as the Open is, and we'll talk about what the next couple of weeks should look like and plan for that. And I really enjoy it, and it's super fun. But your life's got to be bigger than this, and your health is absolutely bigger than the Open. And I just got to get healthy. I got bigger goals for this year anyway. I got other races I want to do, other things I want to accomplish, and you can't do that if you're sick every 2 weeks.
Nope.
Just
Definitely not.
absolutely ridiculous. You're right about sleep, though. I'm sure we'll talk about that too, because we do love some Thursday around here. But that's part of what I've been doing. Like as soon as I was like, all right, this is over, I'm gonna sleep in. So I had basically, Saturday night, Sunday, and this morning because it's a bank holiday. Thank God for bank jobs. And same thing, sleep until like 8:30. Took my Thursday last night, slept like a baby.
Yeah.
Like it
I
makes
think that's one of my superpowers is like being like when I feel some sort of sickness coming on, a lot of people have to, they like have their normal bedtime, their normal wake up time, they have their normal routine, stuff like that. I'm very good at saying, nope, I'm not doing any of that. And I'm going to sleep until infinity. Like there's been, I remember when I was tracking with my Aura ring and I saw that like the Aura ring was showing me that I was getting sick. I literally was just like, okay, tomorrow I have one thing on my agenda and that is sleeping. And I kid you not, I slept, like my room is completely blacked out. I wear earplugs, eye mask, and I can just continue to sleep. So I think I slept for like, I don't know, like 15 hours or something like that. Next day, perfect. Felt great. And like I can literally see my numbers improve like on the Aura ring. And yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. Like I don't think I overdosed on Thursday, but I definitely smashed some Thursday to help assist in the falling asleep, I think is the hardest part. But then like once I get going, man, I keep it rolling. I'm really good at sleeping. And I think that's a superpower that I have. Because I know not everyone has that. A lot of people really struggle with sleep. And it sucks because like you want it, but the more you want it to sleep, the
right.
harder it is to sleep. But if you can crack the code to figure out how to sleep more and actually feel good doing it and not get all anxious about it, man, that has transformed my health for sure.
Well, that would be a tip for the next couple of weeks for people is like, don't think about, all right, if I'm going to do Friday night lights, for instance, I have to get in bed early on Thursday. You do have to get into bed early on Thursday, but you need to worry about more about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like you can't catch up on a week's worth of crappy sleep in a single night. So you
Yeah.
need to, I would tell everyone really start thinking about, what does your routine look like, and I think routine is really the big thing. It isn't so much like, did you sleep till 8? It's like, are you getting good quality sleep for those 8 hours? 7 to 8 hours is kind of the optimal for most people. And if you're less than that, you're screwed. Like it's really kind of that simple. And so find your routine. Like for me right now, it's lights out at 10. And I mean lights out. Like phone goes into silent mode. I've been made fun of from people because of that, because they'll text me and they don't hear anything because phone goes into silent mode and it's off. And they're like, what would you do if you had an emergency? I'm like, that emergency is still going to be there in the morning. Like,
Actually, I have a funny story about that. So like I'm similar to you, but even more so, I'm aggressive with it. I plug my phone in and it's in a completely other room. Like my phone is if anything bad happens, like I'm not finding out until I wake up. And it went as far as when WOD Prep got broken into a couple months ago. The police department was calling me so much. They just kept calling me and calling me and calling me because like my door's wide open. There's stuff everywhere, glass broken, yada yada, and I'm just sleeping like a baby, and they had to call. They actually called my ex-wife, and then she just was just like, you know what? I bet Ben's sleeping, and so she drove over to my house and
oh my
started
God.
pounding on the door and woke me up. And that's the only way that I was able to find out that something was wrong. So
Yeah.
it's not
Well,
good if people are relying on you to come save them. But hey man, if you're living alone, put that phone away.
yeah, look, it's an important thing to make sure you get good sleep. And, in today's day and age, like I do have my phone set where if my daughter's called, it would still go off. But everybody else, that thing's dead silent. It's like it's kind of that simple. So tip number one, just get that sleep routine in place at least for the next couple of weeks. But I would suggest for much longer than that. It's super, super important. Hey, how was your score? Did you beat your 2014 score?
Actually, yes, I beat my 2014 score, but I think I've talked about on this podcast before. My 2014 score was this was actually the workout that kind of kept me out of regionals,
right?
Because I had a really bad staph infection on my left leg that basically the announcement happened on Thursday night. Friday morning, I woke up and couldn't walk because I had a MRSA staph infection from like an ingrown hair on my left leg. And then, long story short, couldn't walk. I couldn't really move other than I got injections into my butt with antibiotics. And then finally on Monday, after they gave me the wrong antibiotics and eventually gave me the right ones, Monday I hit this workout and got like 16 muscle ups and threw up like 3 times. So yes, technically I beat my score from 2014 because I got 19 muscle ups. However, in 2014, once the open was over, I redid it and I got like, I think it was either 15 or 16 calories on the rower. So I was frustrated. I really should have gotten back to that, to the rower, but it's just this is a workout that the unfortunate thing is like, if you zig when you should have zagged, like I overpaced, I think the first section and didn't quite leave myself enough time on the muscle ups. I definitely could have pushed a little harder on those toes to bar, which are a really big strength of mine. I just didn't want to blow up, but it turns out I actually left too much in the tank, and then was just dealing with just pure grip and muscle fatigue on the muscle ups. But if I had a few people I know got to the rings, essentially like a minute before me. If I had done that, I would have been able to probably rack up maybe 15 calories on the rower. So anyway, just it's frustrating. I think fulfill my potential, but I also am glad that I wasn't tempted to do it again because I know a lot of people did it again, and a lot of people got a lot. This is one where when you redo it, you almost always are going to get a better score. So I'm proud of myself for not redoing it, but I am pissed that I got 19 muscle ups.
I had a few pretty interesting experiences judging, and then we can talk about what's tips for the next couple of weeks. But I had this friend of mine message. He's like, "Hey, I want to drop in, kind of bring a couple buddies," and he's really fit. He's your age probably, and I'm like, "Yeah, come on in." So he comes in with these 2 guys, and I followed your tips, and kind of everyone else's have been the same for this: pace the row, break the toes to bar up into sets 5 to 7 at the most. Like really can do singles on the bar. So he brings these kids with him that are in their early 20s, and that's why I'm calling them kids, because they're my daughter's age basically. And I'm judging, and this guy comes out on his row, and he's at about 1450 to 1500 calories per hour.
Smoking.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, bro, you're so screwed. And he wraps up that row in like 210, like really fast. Goes over the toes to bar, does a set of 10. Now I'm like, all right, now you're really screwed. He does 5 sets of 10 like they're nothing. And then he does his wall balls. He does a set of 20. And then he does 2 sets of 10s. Then he gets on the barbell and does singles the whole way, but he literally never stops. Like literally just drop, go, drop, go. Gets over to the muscle ups, chalks, does a set of 5. Then he does 3-2. I'm like, this MFer. Anyway, long story short, he got like 16 calories on the row. Got back to the row.
Yeah.
16 calories. Just crushed it, And it was right before I was supposed to go. So now my brain's like, all right, the brain's not working right.
That's actually kind of interesting though, because so I would say, even though he did get a good score, still with the numbers and the pace that you're telling me, you can still tell that he was pretty blown up. Right? He was, unless he was taking big breaks, but he was flying on a lot of that stuff. And still, I would say he probably could have paced a little bit more and probably I obviously didn't see him on the muscle ups, but he had a lot of time on the muscle ups.
Yeah, he could have gotten, he absolutely could have gotten more on the muscle ups. But anyway, it looked great. Really kind of an elite performance, right? but I also had the opportunity to judge an adaptive athlete and a scaled athlete. And excuse me, it's really humbling, and there's something magical about the Open, getting to coach someone that's just there for the joy of it. You know what I mean? Just absolutely there for nothing but the joy of it on the adaptive side, and just loving every second. And by the way, super coachable. Like I'm coaching her in the middle of the workout, and everything I'm asking her to do, she's like immediately implementing, and I'm sitting there going, man, I wish I was this good a student. Like my coach will coach me in the middle of the workout, and I just hold my hand up, like, don't talk to me, jerk. And so it was really eye opening to me, like how you can be coached mid workout, where I struggle for that personally, where this athlete was just like, okay, I'd tell her to do something. She'd go, okay. And she just do it. It was really cool. And the scaled athlete was an interesting moment for me because, in the men's, it was a man, and in the men's division, it's 95-pound bar, 14-pound ball, and knee raises. And he wasn't going to be able to do pull-ups. He told me going in, I can't do the pull-ups, so we were racing against time to get the best score possible for him. And it's just interesting watching someone that's doing things that you've progressed beyond, and remembering that we all start somewhere, and that the workout, we're not competing against each other. We're just competing against ourselves. Like I'm watching him going, this guy's just competing against himself. There's no one else. He's just trying to be better than he was the day before. And it was a really kind of a cool experience to watch him just go out there and chip away at this thing and give his absolute best. And I don't know, it reminded me about how magical the Open can be for us, and how much you learn if you're really willing to watch and see what others are doing. So, even though my personal experience hasn't been super fun in the Open, it has been pretty exciting to watch others get
Oh
after
man, I
it.
mean, how many DMs and messages did you get from people getting their first muscle ups? I mean, I got dozens of people tagging me as being like, Ben, watch your video, got my first toes to bar ever, and then I did 50. Right. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then as expected, the amount of first time muscle ups is just, man, overwhelming. Like so many people. I assume you got a bunch of those, right?
Yeah, I did a video in my story of 10 to 12 of them that came in, and they're always fun to watch. They're always different. Some of them just look like, oh my god, they're gonna rip their shoulder out, but but still super fun. So
love it, man. I absolutely love it.
Yep, good week for sure. So we got 2 more weeks to go. What do you think we can expect in week 2?
Well, now I can actually, like, this is a great question. Like everyone's like, well, what's happened in week 1? It's like, okay, no idea. I was actually very surprised that it was such a doozy of a workout to start, and I love it. Right? Like I was on cloud 9 when they announced this workout, even though I didn't quite live up to the expectations that I had for myself. I think everybody had a lot of fun with it, and it was challenging. But what's interesting now is we've knocked off, I mean, how many movements? Is it 5? 5 movement chipper?
Yeah, well, we got the big ones we were expecting: toes to bar, muscle up, or at least a ring muscle up.
Yeah. So I would say we will not see any more of those movements. So all the movements that we're in, not going to happen. So what's left on like the heavy hitters? Like what are the most common movements that we're going to see? Double unders. Sorry, everyone. A thruster, most likely, some sort of another squatting pattern movement. So thruster, overhead squat, pull-ups, those things will come. And then I also would expect some grunt work. So you never know what combination it's going to be, but is it going to be a burpee, bar facing burpee, burpees over the bar, burpee box jump overs, box jumps, box step ups, weighted box step ups, right? Like we haven't used the dumbbell yet. I think we're going to see some sort of dumbbell movement that is going to show up. So I'd say we can expect that. I would imagine we have probably one maybe longer workout, and then one that's going to be a little bit shorter and faster. Because this was not this was a workout that you, in theory, I'm not saying everyone did it, but in theory, you could have kept your heart rate pretty low.
Sure.
And done really well in this workout. That's kind of the way it was designed. There will definitely be a workout that is not designed to keep your heart rate low. So that's what I would expect. I think like if I was a betting man, I think we're going to have probably 3 more workouts. I wouldn't be surprised if they did like a Metcon and then into a 1 rep max or heavy complex of something. And then I really feel there's going to be there will be a workout that I hate, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, there's going to be a workout that's just some grunt work and very, very low skill, maybe high strength, but high, just a grinder. I very much expect that. Now, will that come this week or the next week? I'm not sure. So.
Well, I think you can virtually guarantee at least one of these two, you're going to have to work with a really high heart rate, and there's a pretty good chance you're going to have to lift something heavy with a high heart rate, which is a big issue for most people, myself included. Any like when you think of double unders and thrusters, because those are two we know we're going to get, and I think one where people really struggle to breathe. What are your big tips for breathing through those movements? I know they're two totally different movements, but just kind of generically speaking.
Double unders, my biggest tip for breathing during double unders is don't count your own reps. I think a lot of people hyperventilate and hold their breath when they're counting their own reps for whatever reason. I've just seen it in myself. I've seen it in other people. So I'd really focus on allowing someone else to count for you and focusing specifically on breathing. Like just that's all I want you to think about is doing double unders and breathing. And if you can do that and throw the counting out the window, I think that really helps there. And then with thrusters, depending on your heart rate, normally you're taking 2 breaths per thruster. So basically, I actually have a video, obviously, of course I have a video on YouTube, and I think it's called thruster breathing. If you just type in thruster breathing, WOD prep, I'm sure you'll find it. But basically, as the bar is going up off my shoulders, I'm breathing out. And then at the top, kind of at the top, as the bar starts to come back down, that's normally when I'm breathing in. And then if my heart rate is really high, a lot of times you have another out in as you're in the squat. So you kind of as you hit the bottom of the squat, you might breathe out, do an exhale and then a little bit of inhale on the way up, and then a full exhale at lockout up top. That's kind of when your heart rate's really spiked up there, that's kind of the movement pattern. If you're not, if the heart rate isn't too high, then you can kind of sometimes get away with just one really deep, deliberate breath where you're out, in, out, in, and basically the out is on the way up and the in is on the way down.
Yep. Bruce in the comments says, "Is it the same as wall balls?" I treat it the same as wall balls. I don't know if that's what you're describing, Ben, but I view breathing at the top kind of the same. Like when my arms are up, that's where I'm breathing. Chest is open. I'm in a full standing position, arms above my head. Trying to get my breath right there. I think the hardest thing for me around particularly double unders, and to your point of holding your breath, I think that's a big problem for people. But the same for thrusters is once your heart rate gets out of control, not much you can do to get it back under control until the workout's under. And so, my biggest advice to people, I started wearing an Apple Watch, but any watch will do if it keeps an accurate heart rate. I track that heart rate very closely because I know where my red line is, and I don't let it go over. So I'm often breaking double unders, even though that's an area where you should be scoring points or reps, because you can rattle them off really fast. I'll often break them into much smaller sets maybe than most people would recommend because I'm trying to keep my heart rate down.
Yep.
So if it's a set of 60, for instance, I might do 3 sets of 20 with a really fast break in between, or 2 sets of 30. And sometimes depending on how tired I am, I'm doing 6 sets of 10, just really, depends on how I feel, but I'm trying to I try to keep my heart rate 155 or lower. Once I cross into that 160 range, I'm really getting into dangerous territory. And same for thrusters, and to your point of holding your breath, every time you hold your breath, you're, number one, you're keeping your muscles from getting oxygen. So that's a major problem, but then your heart rate's starting to spike. And for me, and only speak for my old ass body, it really starts to spiral. And once you get in that spin cycle, you're done.
Oh yeah. It's very easy to bump your heart rate very quickly during thrusters. And I think a lot of that has to do with you're moving the whole time, and then a lot of it is holding your breath. lot of time under tension.
Well, and then you come up against, so let's just talk hypothetically. I'm curious as to your strategy then, because we've had this in several opens where you've had to do like a kind of a fast movement. Like we had one a few years ago where you had to do, they were dumbbell squats and then burpees over the dumbbell. And it was really short, like it was like 10 down to 1, really short workout. And then you immediately had like 6 minutes to do a heavy clean, squat clean, which obviously makes it really hard with a high heart rate. What's your strategy for if you get a short time frame? I mean, I think we had this 2 years ago as well. We also do like maybe a clean and jerk, kind of similar. We had a fast Metcon and then a clean and jerk. What's your strategy for moving up in weight quickly in a short time frame to get your max lift without having to do, 5 or 6 lifts?
I think everyone should have, like, I'm pulling this a little bit from the weightlifting community. Everyone should have an opener that they know they can hit, but it also should be annoying. I think a lot of people in those kinds of situations, maybe they're either too tentative or they're too aggressive. And they're too tentative, meaning like they start really light and then they're wasting a ton of time switching out weights. They do like just some warm up weights that like they can hit easily all day long, and you just kind of like wasting time and energy, especially if you have a tight window. For me, I always try to it's hard to give percentages, but like I want to say like 70%, something like that. Like something that even if you're, not quite blackout, but like even if you're like post Fran, like with maybe a couple minute break, can you pick up that bar and hit that rep? That's where you want your opener to be. I mean, it all is contingent on what comes before it, but you should start with a weight that is annoying, but also that you have 100% confidence that you can hit. Because the amount of times I've seen people, overdo it and then pick up that, like I remember the heavy cleans from, I don't know if that was last year or 2 years ago. There was that clean complex, and the amount of people who just got pinned to the ground by that barbell because they just didn't realize how fatigued they were from all the previous thrusters. I think it's important to step up to the bar and hit a weight. You're like, I can hit this no matter how tired I am. And then based on how that feels, you make adjustments from there.
Would you, and I'm only asking for you, not necessarily for the crowd. Would you go for your biggest lift on your second lift then, or would you save it for your final shot?
I mean, it all depends on the time. I mean, I'm definitely trying to get more than, again, this is all, how much time do I have? If I have 15 minutes, then I'm doing
You're going to get 6. It's the open. Like they're not going to give you longer than 6 minutes to do a.
Let's say it was 6 minutes. I'm going for, depending on what the rules are, I'm going for probably 3 to 4 lifts, where I hit the opener, load more weight, rest like maybe a minute extra after the opener, hit another one, and then allow myself a solid 2 minutes or so, 90 seconds to 2 minutes before hitting the final weight, which the final weight would be my heaviest.
If you're coaching an old masters athlete, a scale and bale athlete like myself, would it be 4 lifts, or are you going to move it down to 3?
Again, it all depends on the athlete and what the movement is, and
just generically speaking, everyone on here is older than you, Ben. Come on, man.
I mean, how fast are you loading the barbell? I like 2 minutes between lifts. I think that is a solid rest period. 90 seconds to 2 minutes between lifts, however many you can get in there. But you have to remember that you're going to need a front end, probably 30 to 60 seconds, right? Yeah. So 30, 60 seconds at the beginning, hit a lift. You got 90 seconds to 2 minutes to hit another lift, 90 seconds to 2 minutes to hit the next lift. And then if you have time, obviously send it for one more.
I think 4 lifts is good in 6 minutes if you can get to it. I try to do 4 for whatever that's worth, but I try to make my third one kind of my PR lift, but have the weight set with change plates on the end. So if I have to go down, I can go down quickly and still do a 4th lift that I think I can hit. Does that make sense? So I'll do 70%, 90%, like 105. Because it's open. You got it, or even any competition, you've got more adrenaline going than you normally do. And you often, even with the world's ugliest lift, which I've had in competition, but still land them, counts in CrossFit. That adrenaline will carry over, and then for some reason you miss, pull the fives off the end, still go for your lift and end up with a pretty good shot.
Yep.
That's my best advice for
I
a
like
lift. And I'm not a heavy lifter, although someone in the comments earlier said now that I'm having to change my training program, I should just focus on getting swole. And I think that it hurt my feelings because that means I'm not currently swole.
Swoller.
Swoller. I need to get swole. Is swoller a word? I don't even know. I don't even know if swoller is a word. All right. So we've given our kind of our two big tips, sleep being the first one, heart rate being the second one, and then, kind of this off topic of heavy lifting. What, any additional third thing you think people should be thinking about with 2 weeks to go?
With 2 weeks to go. I mean, nothing that hasn't already been said. No, I mean, obviously, like, there's common movement pairings that could pop up. You have like overhead squat, chest to bar pull up, or thruster chest to bar pull up.
Would you be practicing them right now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'd be doing. I mean, not to the point where you're gonna get crazy fatigued or rip your hands or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'd be practicing combinations, like typical combinations that we've seen in the past, like deadlifts and box jumps. Would I do a ton of them to blow my back up? No, but I would definitely practice some movement patterns. In fact, I'm pretty sure the gym that I'm going to, Coda CrossFit Iron View. I didn't look at the programming for this week yet, or I did, and I'm pretty sure it's like basically we just have a bunch of like open workout practice. Basically, it's like EMOMs and 70% effort or 80% effort on like specific pairings. Like deadlift, box jump is a really common one that I've mentioned. Thrusters and burpees, like just kind of like common pairings that we see all the time.
Yeah, I've done that before. I always worry about deadlifts showing up in the open, and to your point of deadlifts and box jumps, that's a hard combination for most people. So I think that's a good advice. Like, pick the movements that you're probably not great at and build some confidence. So don't think about building strength, building speed. You're building confidence.
Yeah.
Because that's a hard movement. Like, I don't know if you've ever done this, Ben. I'm sure you have. I remember vividly early CrossFit John, when I wasn't this swoller. The very first time I did deadlifts in the box jumps, you go to make that first jump and your shin goes right into the side of the box because you have no idea how to jump after doing deadlifts,
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of new people out there that don't do them. A lot of gyms don't even program those together that often. And so if you haven't done it, building confidence of knowing, how long you need to rest in between the deadlift to the jump is something you need to know.
Sure.
For most people, I would think most people that follow a scale and bell, scaled athletes, they don't, an elite athlete can do a deadlift, go right into a box jump. They don't even think about it. They can just do it, Whereas for me, I do a deadlift and then I'm like, all right, I'm going to count for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Need to give it a minute and make sure I can make the first one. And, and then after that, everything's fine.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, like, practice these pairings, like practice the common pairings. And I think a lot of CrossFit gyms are probably programming in that way, where it's like, guess what we're not going to see a lot of in the gym? Toes to bar, ring muscle ups, rowing, right? Wall balls. These are all things that hopefully are not on the agenda this week, which a lot of people will be really excited about.
Yeah, you can still get bar muscle ups. That's a very real possibility.
Yep. I mean, they're two very different movements. We've never seen that, I don't think, but it is a possibility. I think like the tiered approach where it's like maybe they'll start with chin over bar pull-ups and then chest to bar and then bar muscle ups or something like the progressive approach, just like we did with that handstand push-up workout, that's another thing we're probably going to see as well. The handstand push-up workout from a few years ago that like graduated to handstand walks, right? Those kinds of things will be, there's a lot of potential for that because it still allows them to test the high level skill, but you still have to go through a lot of stuff to get there, which is why, like, it's really nice that they didn't start the workout with 20 ring muscle ups, right? And then end it with 60 calorie row. It just wouldn't make any sense.
Would not shock me at all to see them do the wall facing handstand push-ups that we saw at the games.
Yeah.
Because we've seen them in multiple competitions now. And but we've never seen it in the Open. And
well, it would go hand in hand with them changing the handstand push-up standard all the time. So.
Every single year it's different. But you could do a pretty decent progression. Kipping strict, reverse and face the wall strict. You know, could be really, really interesting to see what that does to people.
Yeah.
I've never attempted it. I don't know if I could do it. Have you tried them?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. They're tough. They're definitely tough. Definitely not good for kipping.
Well, if they show up in the Open, we may have to do an emergency session of Scale and Bale and give tips because I don't have any idea how to do them. So
yeah, I mean, they're tough. It's just, it's I think more demand on your balance and then shoulder strength, and they're just a pain in the butt to get down from. So
why are they a pain to get down from? You can't just flip to the side?
I mean, flipping the side works. It's just awkward. It's way more awkward than the other way.
Yeah, true. And I guess if you've got, you ought to be able to walk them down like a wall walk.
Yeah, but you're fatigued. You're smoked.
Not when you're this swole, Ben. Come on, man. Not when you're this swole. All right. Well, we have a few minutes. Let's take some questions from.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones in there.
Well, you pick one.
All right.
Anyone has questions or things you guys are worried about in the Open that we haven't talked about?
Here's one. Let me find it. All right, here's one. This is, what's up with the leaderboard? A guy 45 to 49, first place, 397 reps. Here's something you guys got to know about the leaderboard right now. It is not set. Anyone, and I mean anyone, including some of my friends who have definitely trolled CrossFit HQ before by entering fake scores. Anyone can enter any score, and then there's a validation period. So what you see on the leaderboard right now has not been validated. If that person reported that amount of reps and doesn't have a video to back it up, I assure you it will not be there in a few days. So be patient. Be patient. If a rep seems, or if a workout seems, or a score seems too good to be true, it probably is, and it will be gone very soon.
That happens every year. Every year somebody throws up some ridiculous score. I thought about it when I knew I wasn't going to post one. I'm like, hey, Jen, let me toss one up for like 7 and let me lead the world for 5 minutes. Be great.
Do you remember the guy that was Dave Castro? He like registered as Dave Castro and then just put up like massive scores in the first Open workout a couple years ago. That was fun.
Oh, I should have done that.
Let's see. What else do we have? I think there's a few other really good ones. Here we go. Question. I can do rings usually around 6 or 7 unbroken, but when I got to them at 1240, I was so shot I couldn't get one. Failed like 3 times, and I saw several athletes do this. Then after my coach told me to try them after the WOD, I tried them 1 to 2 minutes after the workout and could do them. What are the reasons I suck so bad on this part? Pressure, fatigue, lots of reasons. But I think this is an issue that a lot of people run into, and I saw someone do this firsthand at the day that I did my attempt. Is people who can do ring muscle ups got to the rings, they were surprised at the fact that they failed maybe their first rep, and then panicked, and then tried again, and had a lot of failure in a very short window of time. They weren't able to humble themselves and be patient and say, you know what? I realized the importance of getting 1 rep. I'm going to take a lot of time, and I'm going to make sure that I like hit my 1 rep with, 30 seconds to go, and then maybe go for 1 more. So I think what happens is a lot of people get caught off guard that they're, under extreme fatigue, because the Open workouts present a new level of fatigue that often isn't faced in an actual class setting. So you're probably way more tired than usual. There's a lot of pressure on it. The clock's ticking. And as soon as you fail that rep, it's, you kind of get in your head about it. So I think a lot of people didn't take enough time before that first attempt, and they probably made too many attempts. So that's what I think.
Yep. Here's a good question for you, Ben. Ronald Neville's worried about dubs, and he can only do 1 or 2 in a row, and then he loses it.
Well,
your best dub advice.
Best. I mean, other than saying you should have bought my courses a long time ago and, tried them, which actually Ronald might have. His name obviously is very familiar, but realistically speaking, I think, but for the Open right now, if you can do one or two in a row and then you lose it, I would potentially just focus right now on, can you do your one or two in the row and keep the rope spinning, rather than trying to do two unbroken fail, trip, 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 trip. How can you keep the rope spinning? That's like, I don't offer that advice a lot of times to people trying to learn double unders, because I think it's a crutch. But specifically for the Open, if you keep the rope spinning, it's a good thing, because that means you're probably accumulating more and more reps. I think a lot of people who do one or two in a row, they're spinning the rope way too fast, and their rope is way too fast. I've seen it so many times where people think that double unders are fast, so they jump and then they just freak out and they spin their $90 speed rope that they have, and then they trip. And what they don't realize is that they're close to doing a triple under every time.
Right.
It's doing 2.5, and they can't figure that out. So I would say potentially slow it down, get a slower rope, get a heavier rope, and then just try to, if you can consistently get two and just nail two every time, or do one single, double, single, double, that's going to really help come an Open workout. That's way better than, single, double, trip, double under, trip, like, see if you can keep that rope spinning and find a rhythm that allows you to accumulate reps.
Well, we said here on the show before, if you want to video yourself and send it to us, we're happy to review it on the show.
Yeah. Especially for the people who watch on YouTube and other channels, submitting videos. Normally you have to pay for that with WOD Prep, but for the show, I'm in. We will hand pick some videos to check out.
I'll sit here and tell you everything you're doing wrong for free every day of the week. Unlike Ben, I don't charge for that shit. I mean, usually double unders it's one or two things. It's usually because your elbows are, your hands are moving away from you, and so that rope is getting shorter. Like that's.
Yeah, it absolutely could be a rope length thing. I think rope length is a very, very common issue. If you can't hear your rope clicking the ground with each spin of the double under, that means it's coming off the ground, which means you're definitely prone to tripping.
Yeah. And, there are a ton of videos out there, including Ben has some really brilliant ones that can help you through it. But it's one, I've said forever, get a metronome, and you got to practice 5 to 7 minutes a day, every day, 5 days a week till you get it. Like, it's just, unfortunately with double unders, the only way to get it is to practice. It really is. It's not like building strength where you can go out and lift and like over time you get it. Like, you just gotta get under the rope or over the rope, either way you want it. So good question though.
Yeah, it's a good question. Here's one. What about an Open with all repeats? I think that'd be really cool, because you'd be able to see the progression, like just like we've seen this year. The scores people are putting up compared to 2014, it's insane, right? Like it's unbelievable how fit everyone's gotten. Even if it's roughly the same amount of people almost, but the average scores have just we're getting way fitter as a community. The CrossFit is creating some incredibly fit people. But the only issue with that is I'm pretty sure CrossFit HQ did say that there's a new movement coming. Pretty sure Adrian Bosman said that. So with a new movement means that it is not all repeats.
I'd love to see an all repeat Open, but I don't think they will. Yeah. I don't think they ever will, to be honest. I think there's, they're also wanting to create for the future too. That's part of it, and I'm sure Adrian as I thought it was really cool and humble of him to do a repeat for the very first one. Like, I thought it was really cool of him, because he's a great programmer, super smart guy, been in the space for decades, and has worked for CrossFit forever. And this is his first Open. He could have easily said, all right, I'm going to create the Adrian Bosman special, and made some crazy workout that blew all our minds. Instead, he's like, you know what, let's respect the test and see how much fitter we've gotten in the last decade. And that's pretty cool. I
loved it.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
I loved it. Someone also said kettlebell snatches. Nope. Not coming in the Open.
You don't think so?
No, they literally said the kettlebell is not in the Open.
Did they?
They did a very poor job of announcing it. But Adrian Bosman was like, oh, yeah, that we're not using that until the quarterfinals.
Okay.
So I mean, at least that's what I mean. That's my team keeps telling me that. So anyway, I know like they announced like, hey, this is a new piece of equipment for the quarterfinals. So,
all right. Any other questions in here?
Let's see. There's lots of people saying, hey, thanks for the tips. Really helped with various aspects. I love it. I'm excited. I mean, stay tuned for more tips. We work our butt off to get the videos done and get some good strategy out there. So it just really makes me happy when I see so many people doing really well. Thanks to the hard work that we put in. Here's one from April.
Dude. I was on the call with your team, and they're smart, dude.
They are smart. They are smart. April asked, do they check master's levels as well for scores that are sketchy? Yes. Yes, they do. Basically, especially at the top. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say that the 91st percentile, right? Like there's probably people who are going to sneak into the next round with totally scammed and sketchy scores. But yeah, if there's a crazy score at the top of any leaderboard, I don't care what division it is, they're definitely going to take a look at it.
I think you have less of a chance of having people sneaking into quarters with sketchy scores than you would in the past, because the scores have to be validated in affiliate or you have to send in a video. Now, they're not going to look at everyone.
Yeah.
Not even close. They are going to look at the ones that are exceptional and, judge those. And so I think those that have a chance to be really competitive are going to get looked at. I don't know. Like I've always just kind of thought to myself, I trust the community. I trust people validating the scores, that these are fair and honest scores. Do I think there are some gyms that are more hardcore about no reps or giving bro reps than others? Absolutely. Like I'm sure that's happening, but at the end of the day, it'll all even out. And I think the fittest will get there for sure. And we'll see.
Absolutely.
So, but and somebody said in the chat, you got to pay for quarters. So this is true. I mean, like CrossFit wants it to succeed because you got to pay at every level, open, quarter, semi. There's a fee to get in. So they want it to be fair. And I think they're trying hard to really lock down this process. Like you saw it with I don't want to get into it too much, but like, the weights on the women's side were wrong during the open and they immediately apologized. And even though they couldn't correct it, they immediately addressed it. Whereas in years past, they would have gone 2 or 3 days without saying shit. They would have
they would have,
and I think now they're really starting to be
they would have posted a really nice video of someone lifting water jugs.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're really cognizant of community feedback and wanting this to be a fair competition for others. And they want it to be special and they want it to be perfect, and mistakes are going to happen, and I think they're doing a really good job of owning up to mistakes. And I know everyone thinks I'm in cahoots and I know all these people and I know a lot of them, but I do think they're genuinely trying.
Absolutely.
And want it to be fair. So absolutely.
All
right, dude. Well, I'm excited to see what you put up the next 2 weeks. Disappointed I'm not going to be there to beat you, but that's the way it goes, I guess.
That's right. You got to heal up for the games. Got to heal up for the row off.
I know. I'm excited about that. I spent a little time on the assault rower this week, just very little, and that thing's miserable, dude. It's really. Have you got yours, right? Did it show up?
No, the shipping company lost it. But then they found it again. Woo, good for them. So funny. Such a disaster. But I will be receiving it on Thursday, apparently. So we'll see.
And see, this is valuable time. I could be getting ahead of you in the row.
I know.
For sure.
I know.
It's a much different rower though, dude. Like I said, I spent a little time on it on Sunday, and they just everything about the feel is different. It just
it's solid though, so solid.
It is it's really solid.
Is like the beefed up assault bike that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I hopped on that at my buddy Eric's house the other day, yesterday specifically. And I used to have the old assault bikes, but the new beefier versions. I mean, they're still not they're not absolutely gargantuan like the Echo bike. It still is I'd say perfect for a garage gym. But man, I hopped on that thing. I was like, this thing is a tank in a good way. It's built strong, but not too beefy, I guess.
Yeah. It doesn't weigh 1,000 pounds like that. You can't even move those Echo bikes. And I'm not slamming Echo. Echo is a fine bike.
It's great. It's just when you put it there, you don't want to move it at all.
Yeah, with the last gym I went to, we had a bunch of Echo bikes, And if I had to pull that thing farther than 2 feet away from the wall, I was totally bitching about it because they're so heavy, you know. But it is what it is. But I bitch about everything anyway. So.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Ben, super fun. Great talking to you again. I'm excited to see what this week holds for us. And for everyone that joined us, thanks for joining. We'll do another one of these next week. We'll recap 23.2 and then give our best guesses for 23.3. So appreciate you guys joining, and we'll catch up with you guys next week.
Peace.